Yo, 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 what's going on, people? So it's Rich here from Rich's Reviews. I've got Lee over there at the bottom on my screen, bottom. I don't know where he is in yours. My lovely little conspiracy theorist, and I should say, well, I don't know, Lee, go on, introduce yourself.
I'd say more of a fact checker.
All right, there you go. He's a fact checker. Lee, the fact checker. I've got Raheem there, my buddy from New York. What's going on, Raheem?
Nothing much is here.
The Brooklyn King, is that correct?
Yeah.
Brooklyn King, the Brooklyn student. Right, guys, so today's subject is quite an important one. As we know, just recently, we had Boris Johnson talk about the Prime Minister's little speech about the lockdown possibly going on for another 3 weeks, which is, I suppose, to be expected, really. And on the back of it, there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming out of this, I reckon, in the next few days. And so this is what the subject is going to be about, what I want to talk about today. Track and tracing apps. Are they saving humankind or a breach of privacy? So there's been a lot of talk recently of getting these track and tracing apps. Some people want them, some people don't. There's a lot going on, and especially if we're going to be in lockdown next few weeks, and especially coming out of lockdown in June, July, we're not going to have a cure in the next, 2 weeks or whatever. It's going to possibly take a year. And the best way, you look at countries like South Korea, Singapore, they've actively been doing track and tracing, and they believe that's what's kept their levels of COVID-19 down. And hey, let's look at Taiwan, for example. Even let's go back to South Korea. These places did not go into lockdown, and they say it's the track and tracing. However, us lot, like especially the Americans as well, or the UK, or anyone in this kind of what we call the Western world, where we think this is breach of privacy. So I'm going to go with Raheem before I go to Lee, because I know Lee's going to be checking his facts and he's probably got a lot to say. So Raheem, track or tracing apps. Breach of privacy, or yeah, we should do it, as it will save humanity from COVID-19.
So I understand. I understand the reason for track and tracing. Yeah, it makes sense, but at the same time, not everybody want to give their data to the UK government or a third party such as Google, Amazon, or whatever to track them to keep them there doing have the virus or not. Track and tracing, not really.
Let me rephrase. Do you trust the track and tracing, or do you think it's a breach of privacy? Would you personally give all your details to the UK government or to Apple or to Google or whoever's going to be doing this to know exactly where you're going, who you've been with, everywhere, your bank details? And actually, before I give you this, and I know you gave a little look there, and this is quite funny, I have to say this. So, especially in South Korea, it wasn't just the track or tracing apps. They used the credit card details and everything to know where they had been, and then they could decipher with all this information if they were around anyone who had COVID-19, if they themselves COVID-19, and then, the process is they kind of speak to everyone, phone people up, send an app. You've been in contact with someone with COVID-19. Can you please isolate for 14 days and all that kind of stuff. So you being your person, you get up every day. You might be going back to school, college, uni, wherever. I don't know what's going to be happening with you at the moment. For those of you who watched the video on the last, Raheem's a university student. His parents are back home in New York. He's here in London, so he might be traveling. But wherever you would be going, Raheem, would you give your information?
Personally, no. I wouldn't want to give that much information to any one government. Obviously, easy to sell it and stuff like that. But the Privacy Act that came out in 2018, that would be a breach of that one within the UK, because there's certain stipulation of what.
Sorry, did you say the Privacy Act in 2008?
Yeah, 2018.
Right. While you're talking, Lee, go into that for me, please. While I look into that, right? Go on, say that again. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, no, it would be a breach of that act because there's certain things they're not allowed to share with other companies and stuff like that. I mean, they can sell your data for numerous reasons, obviously. But if you don't want somebody to have full access to your bank account, that, like, to me, I think that more personally, like, why do you want to know what I'm spending and this and that? Where, man, I understand you need to track all of these things that I'm doing throughout the day and the week, but.
So, okay. Go on, sorry, carry on, Green.
Me personally, it is a good idea, but I wouldn't want them to have so much control over so much access to my private life. I want to be able to literally just like turn the app off and they're not able to track me what I'm doing throughout the whole day. Because having that is more, I really can't explain it in a way, but I don't know. It's just
okay. I know what you're going on about, and I totally get it. But this whole 2018 Privacy Act, I mean, let's look at Facebook, for example. We've always had Privacy Acts, but yet we still know, and please forgive me, I think Lee will kind of come up with the facts and figures here, because I'm not that well educated, I should say, on the Privacy Act so much. But Facebook obviously have been caught for breaching our privacy. Load of companies have, but let's go with apps. I know you wouldn't want to, and with the Privacy Act, but surely we know, like when you buy an app, any app, you know, that we buy on our iPhones, on our Androids and stuff, we have a consent which we all click OK. Straight away, I think that now enables them to do whatever they want with your data.
It depends on what's in that consent form. So if they get a consent for your whole phone, then yes, they could easily get every information you want to. But for me personally, before I even click OK to some of the stuff, I try to read the least first couple pages to see what they're actually getting from me. Yeah.
Do you actually? I must admit, I'm probably one of the victims who don't read. If I see an app and I'm thinking, I need the app, bang, you know, I don't go around that long list.
I don't read the whole list. There's been one or two cases that I actually read the whole thing, but 90% of the time I just read the first 3 paragraphs. Then I click OK. That's it.
You don't know it's in the 4th paragraph. It could say you're going to say all this stuff. So, but it's like cookies. So, do you accept cookies?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you know what accepting cookies does?
Yeah, it does a whole.
So do you know what accepting cookies looks like? I'm going to share the screen so you guys can see it, and hopefully the people watching this can see it. So can you see that, guys? Yeah?
Not yet. It takes a few seconds for it to come up, I think.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's loading now.
So that there is like accepting cookies, yeah? So this could be you, Raheem. You've accepted your cookies. Your data has automatically had to go through all these people and everywhere. And it gives them the right to say, yes, I want to, you know, for example, I can have this information so I can sell it to him and then I can send them information. So, you know, on your phone, if you ever once in a while Google Nike trainers, let's say, that will allow Nike trainers to send you advertising on your phone.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what accepting cookies does. So isn't that a form of giving all your privacy stuff away, so to speak? I'm going to stop sharing that now.
But you also say there's a few studies around the fact that even when you're not talking to Siri, she's still listening. So I do believe she is, to be honest, because sometimes I'm talking to my friend about this new book bag I want to get, and then 10 minutes later, I see an app come up when I open the Google, see an app just pop up about it. I'm like, okay, a little strange, but I would say it's a necessary evil, but I don't want to give my every single thing about myself to an app, to the UK government, regardless or not if they're going to say they're not going to sell it to other third party.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Right, to the fact checker. Go on, Lee. I suppose for you, quickly, go on. What do you think?
Basically, no, I don't want to give the government everything about me. Google already knows enough about me to they know my full life story, basically. They know what I like to buy, they know what I like to search on the internet, they know what games I'm playing, they know what videos I'm watching. But that's different from the government.
Is it?
Because, well, one, Google isn't owned by anybody in the UK.
Yeah.
So if it was going straight to a government, it's going to the American government, not the UK government.
CIA, can we trust them?
Yeah, but even though like I'm never going to break a law, I still don't. Maybe I want to break a law in the future. I don't want the government to have that power over me for my defence if I do so. It's one of those, really, for me. Yes.
But my
I don't
point
want
is,
to know where
doesn't the
I am every second of the day.
Sorry, say that again.
I don't want them to know where I am every second of the day.
But don't you think the UK government already knows where you are? The polling station, let's just put it. They know all your information because you vote.
They know where I live, but they don't know where I was 2 p.m. yesterday.
Do they not know, though? I mean, your phone knows where you were at 2 p.m. yesterday. Like, let's take police cases. Actually, this is an interesting one. So recently I watched this program, We Caught the Killer. You know, you get these programs or whatever. And so you've gone for a walk, Lee. You've gone for a bike ride, let's say. You've gone for an hour-mile bike ride. Your phone's probably tracked where you can go and where you can't. So the police, when they get your phone, they log into the system so they know where you've been anyway, correct?
But they would need a warrant for your phone in the first place.
Look, I can show you right now. Google knows where I went for a bike ride today because that's where I went. It tracked me on the Google Maps.
My point exactly. So don't you think the UK government and maybe Google sharing that information?
No, but Google isn't sharing. Well, Google shouldn't be sharing that information. So that means that if the government ever pulled me up on it, they couldn't use that in a court of law. Because I don't know if you remember, there was I can't remember what the incident was about, but it was a pretty serious incident, and the American government reached out to Apple and said, "We need you to hack this phone." And Apple turned around and went, "Nope, not doing it."
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Apple versus the United States.
Say that again?
He probably knows more
Apple
about that.
versus the United States. I think it was 3 years ago. The person committed, I think he murdered someone. Was
it a school shooting or something?
Yeah, it was a school shooting, and they said that it was already on his phone when he recorded what he was going to do. He typed it up, his search histories and all of that stuff. But Apple was saying that they wouldn't give that to them due to privacy reasons. And if they do that, it would most likely violate their future customers. Because
but don't you think in things like that, though, where someone's murdered someone, that they should know? Okay, so...
Yes, but down to principle, once you create a case law like that, then you're opening up the government to be able to dive into anybody's phone for any reason whatsoever.
So track and trace, why was it used for, we can go and do it for the coronavirus and we got to save the world and stuff like that? What about the paedophiles over the last 20 years? Track and trace technology we've had for many years. Terrorists. Look at the terrorism attacks that happened in London on the buses, on the underground, the bridge recently, you know, on London Bridge, all these stuff. And these were known terrorists who had been in prison. Why couldn't we give them a mobile? You're being track and trace. There's your app. If you leave that phone at home or you break that phone, you're in breach. We're coming to arrest you, like a tag, all these sorts of things. And surely this would have stopped crime that happened before with people dying.
Yeah, in regard to giving them a completely separate device which isn't connected to all their other personal stuff. Yeah, I completely agree with you. That would actually work pretty well, to be honest, because then you know where they've been. But they would still have another phone to make all their phone calls on.
Yeah.
And about another phone, let's talk about the drug dealer phones. And I think we all know what we're talking about. You know, you get the phone, or you call them drug dealer phones. For those of you who don't know, probably the old SIM phones. They're not Androids or iPhones. You know, no smartphones, I should say. I think we've all had them phones back in the past. Not because we sold
Back in the
drugs.
day.
Sorry, let me rephrase that, because that was the only technology that was out.
Back when we were like 13-year-olds with your Nokia 6210.
Yeah, exactly. The old banana phones or whatever.
Come on.
Like these phones, what was I going to come with? Yeah. So, don't you think like this track and tracing would stop drug dealers and stuff like that as well?
It wouldn't stop them. They would just get more smarter in what they do.
You think so?
Yeah, they're more precautious in a sense.
Criminals are smart people. They're not dumb people.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
To be a successful criminal, you have to be smart.
Okay, so I'm going to throw another thing in the mix here quickly. Track and tracing will only work if we say yes to it. At the moment, I've got 2 people here saying I'm not giving my information. So if you're not, I reckon there's a lot of other people out there who can say I ain't giving my information. So therefore, we already know the track and trace ain't going to work in the UK if we don't actively put our name down to it. Now, what about old people? They ain't got smartphones.
Well, let's be honest, old people ain't going nowhere for a few years.
Sure.
I don't know, you say that. I've seen a couple of old biddies. That's my Essex with me coming at people. I've seen a couple of old ladies walk, like a load of them who go for the daily walks, who are definitely over the age of 70.
Yeah.
To get some exercise.
I had some reaction on the news. There was some women saying, oh, but 10-year-old kids don't have smartphones. Yeah, they do. Every 10-year-old kid has a smartphone. It's just the old people that don't. If you're not old enough to have a smartphone, you're living or being with a parent that does.
Right. Do you agree, though, that maths testing worked for South Korea and they never went into lockdown?
What the media have told us, yes.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so.
Plus, it wasn't all track and tracing. They were doing a lot of testing on top of that. And I think the testing was what actually showed the most. I mean, the track and tracing will probably helped on top of that, because with the testing, yes, you are definitely positive, and then they could track and trace on that individual person, which would then squash the numbers. I don't believe it's solely down to track and tracing.
No.
Oh.
Right. So I'm going to throw the second bit into this now. Do you trust the UK government with your data? So let's say you have agreed. You've had to. Forget you've had to. They've made it law. We need to save the world. You lot need to get track or trusted, or we're taking all privileges away from you. Would you trust them with your data, Raheem? I think I know the answer to this.
Yes, I would in a sense. I would.
Hold on, I got to stop you now. So you will trust them with your data, but you don't want to give them your details for the app.
Okay, if I have to, I would have to trust them with my data.
If you had to.
Yeah, if I have to, I would trust them. That's what you said, basically. The way you phrased the question, you basically said I have to give them my data, so I would have to trust them with it. But we already give them our data when we do taxes, when we do a tax and tax refund, all that stuff already.
Very good point. Very good point.
So I build on top of that. I would trust them with my data. Would I trust them with my location? No. So then you'd probably change your lifestyle to not carry that certain device around with you. For location. I mean, this is after the coronavirus. Yeah, if it was put into law, I would still carry my phone around with me everywhere I went. But as soon as the coronavirus situation was done for 2, 3, 10 years, whatever it is for it to be done, I would start to think, maybe I'll leave my phone at home on this night out. Maybe I'll go and buy a Nokia 6210, which doesn't have tracking, to use as my personal phone. That's where I'd come from it.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking at it too.
Yeah, I mean, there's this thing like, will they delete your information? If they don't, throw away your phone, they haven't got your stuff. But I reckon a lot of your livelihood will be recorded and placed somewhere anyway. And we're creatures of habits. We don't change overnight. So my daily routine is my daily routine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Your interests are still going to be your interest. Your Google searches and the videos you like to watch are still going to be the videos you like to watch, etc. And that affects everything in your life.
Yeah. And once they get data, they can actually start profiling you to see what they're going to start predicting what you're going to do in the future. And once they start doing that, it's like you no longer have the freedom of your own self.
I mean, Google's already doing that right now to predict what you want to buy, where you're going to be going. Every time you go to a shop, it knows you've been in that shop. We went to some small little cafeteria place for my birthday when I last came down to Portsmouth. And the next day, me and my dad were both getting questions from Google to review that little cafeteria.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like,
well, this goes back to my question. All this happens anyway, so why not just give it to them and let's save humanity?
because I'm happy for a private company to have it, because a private company only wants to sell me stuff. They want to make money off me. Whereas a government has different plans and different objectives.
Do they? Are these multi-billionaire companies not working for the government? Isn't capitalism part of the government and people selling you stuff capitalism? Isn't this just a vicious circle that we all keep living in? These multi-billion pound companies are owned by governments and government strategies and stuff like that.
Yeah, but these billion-dollar companies cannot keep our data for more than 5 years.
So they say.
Yeah. No, it's actually...
I wasn't allowed to keep your data for more than 5 years, Raheem. Trust me. I kept... You worked with me for a little while.
Well, I was still working with you, so that's the reason why.
Right. See, I don't know. So, I'm going to go back to the thing in a minute, but I was telling you, I watched this thing on Elon Musk recently, yeah? All right. And this really tied in with what we're talking about. Now, we all know about Elon Musk, about his future thinking, about what he wants to do. And I talked about it in the first video we did about, you know, everyone goes, it's always a conspiracy, these billionaires and stuff like that. And, you know, and my point was, well, just because someone makes more billions doesn't make them like they're secretly trying to run the world or whatever, you know? They're ahead of it.
Elon Musk for me is probably the one billionaire I do trust.
Yeah, usually they're ahead of their time, you know, so much that they want to better the world. Einstein, he wanted to better the world, hence why he made not the atomic bomb, but the equation for it. However, governments took hold of this and made a bomb, and then he quoted the Gita, which is a religious text, where he turned around and he said, I've now become the god of death, you know, because that's not what he wanted, you know, that's not what he wanted out of his creation. Now, Elon Musk, let's just go forward. So just recently he was talking about this nanotech. Was it nanotech? Hold on, I'll go have to check this out. What did I say it was called again, Lee?
You did say nanotech, but it was something else.
Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Neuralink. So Neuralink's a huge thing, and it's going to be huge. And to be honest, I'm really up for Neuralink. Neuralink is basically a chip which they're going to put at the back of your head. So the way Neuralink works is our synapses works with our whole spine, it sends messages in our whole body. If something goes wrong, let's say you're in an accident or something happens and you lose the loss of your legs, not that your legs have been chopped off or you're paralyzed or whatever, the chip will be the synapses for the link, and therefore you could potentially start walking again. If you've had a stroke,
basically skips your spinal cord.
Yeah, potentially that can the chip will, if you've had a stroke, can reverse the stroke. Hey, future thinking, man. This is beautiful. You know, haven't we all sat there as kids? I mean, I have a condition which I don't tell many people about, but I've always thought if I could have something that could beat this condition, where I could run faster than I've ever run, because I used to be an athlete, believe it or not, Raheem. I know you can't tell from my stomach nowadays, but I used to be a very good kickboxer. I used to do the splits. I used to love fighting. I used to love running. I can't do that now, you know, because I had certain problems, which I won't tell now, but which took that away from me, you know. And I've always thought, there was something I could just put on me that give me that back, you know, and that's what the world wants. However, he said something, and people started getting scared, and it's because he's a future thinker, and I get where Elon Musk is coming from. But then again, won't our data be tracked via these things in our head? So this chip would be so powerful that it would kind of even act as a Wi-Fi in our heads. So we can upload and download information. Yeah, I'd be able to speak to you, Raheem, without moving my lips, because we'd be connected via Wi-Fi, and that chip will connect with each other, and I could think it and you can hear it. He was then asked, oh, how long do you think this would take? He believes within the next 10 years. You know, so if technology is going that fast, we being the sentient beings we are very behind technology now. Yeah, AI symbiosis, all this thing has gone so far that we can't catch up. Yeah, our brains cannot physically catch up now. So
well, AI
you probably have to join it.
Separate video, but carry on.
Yeah, it is definitely for a separate video. It really is, and I'm going off on one here. But my whole point was, if technology is going that far, they're going to know what we're freaking doing anyway. So what does it matter if we agree to giving the data or not? But by giving the data, we could potentially save lives. By not giving the data, yeah, okay, we'll hold on to our human rights, per se, for a little bit longer.
Yeah. But once we give up a human right, would we still consider to be human in a sense? Because that's one of the key aspects that define us. Because once we give up that right, we don't know, we are not able to do certain things. Because if you know that the government is tracking you, and know for a fact you're not going to do the same thing they've been doing for the last 20, 15 years, you're going to try and be more, just be more like, more perfect citizen in a sense. Because if they said that they were tracking with a satellite right now, and know for a fact they wouldn't do, oh yeah, you know, weed is illegal. You would, if it was doing that, you'd have stopped it. Because they'd have a way, like they would have a record of you doing it, and then if you get arrested now, and they say, oh, yeah.
Do you think the UK governments, let's do UK, sorry, let's take the US, because you're from the US. Yeah. And I think you know what I'm going to ask here, so I'm going to ask in a roundabout way without asking you. I see Lee smile there, laughed. Do you think, how can I phrase, institutions, policing institutions within America spy on us and know everything about us anyway?
To a certain extent, I believe yes. You know,
you kill me for that. Sorry, guys. Raheem knows what I'm talking about.
I'm surprised if Rishi's Reviews isn't on next weekend, people. Wasn't there there's been plenty of leaks from America, but what was the major link that they were using the Terrorism Act to spy on people, which all governments spy on people. Yeah. Put it this way. All governments spy on people, but there's a big difference between them targeting someone to spy on compared to them having a database full of, I have given consent for you to spy on me.
Lee, that's a great thing, actually, and sorry to cut you guys off. Actually, this is very important because I'm going to need you to do a quick research about this. It's going to go into my point. There was a film with that guy from Batman. What was his name? The one who plays Robin.
Robin.
The guy with three names.
3 names.
Joseph Levitt, whatever his name is. What was his name?
I don't know.
I'll find out. Joseph. I can autocorrect. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
That's it. 3 name bloody Levitt. All right, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Google him. He was in a film about Americans spying on people through their TVs, and this was a true movie. It was a true story.
Snowden.
Never heard of it.
Was it Snowden?
Snowden. Yeah, Snowden. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know about Snowden. It? What was that?
I have no idea what was it about.
So Snowden was based on they were basically using the Terrorism Act to spy on people.
Right, fair enough. There you go. And they're doing it via your TV.
And it was supposed to be a system that was shut down, and that the reason it looked so bad is because they weren't just spying on the people that they thought were involved in incidents. They were spying on that person's sister and friend and brother and mother, and they were literally just sat there and watching them.
Yeah, spying on potential terrorism. That's what the Patriot Act gave them the right to do. Anybody they think or will be anybody they think will be a terrorist, they have the right to do it. Yeah.
But this was back in, this is like 9/11 times, so
Yeah.
you can see why they can justify that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for that. I think tracking terrorism, that's very important in any part of the world, because anything that causes mass destruction or mass deaths is not right. You know, that's my personal belief. I believe humanity should be one, and we should all live as one. You know, and I'm a big believer of that. Hence why I said, why didn't we use track and tracing for pedophiles, for terrorists? Do you know what I mean? Because
I mean, technically we are, in a sense, because a pedophile has to be registered whenever they move to a certain area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, I think it would be wrong if there was an internet page out there that would show their current location.
That would be, because that would attract more hate to them.
Yeah. Even though I think they should be castrated anyway,
yeah,
revealing their current location to the world, that is harsh. That is, you might as well not have a life at that point.
Yeah.
And that is basically what you're doing by saying the government can know where you are at all times. And once you give consent, can you take that consent back?
True.
At the moment, that's not the setup.
Actually, Lee, this is going to be a question I had. Would you trust private companies more, like Google and Apple?
Google has everything about me. I have Google Pay. All of my Facebook is connected to my Google account. My YouTube is connected to my Google account. They literally have everything on me. I use Google Chrome. So it doesn't matter. Google has everything on me anyway.
Yeah.
So if the government went to Google and, right, Lee has COVID-19, where has he been? Fair enough. Give them that data. That's the data that they require. But for them to be able to access whatever data they want for their personal objective is what I don't agree to. Does that make sense?
I see that point, actually. I do. What about you, Raheem? Would you trust Google and Apple over the government?
See, yeah, I would trust Google and Apple, because there's a few cases where within the United States government tried to warrant certain things from Apple, and they extremely failed due to
like you said, Apple versus the United States or whatever.
Yeah. So I would, essentially, I would trust them more than the government, because although they have an agenda, their agenda is more known than what the government agenda is. Because they tell you they're taking it to keep everybody safe, but there is always another agenda that they have in place.
Well, like hacking off the software. I mean,
issues, right? So you got the hack, you filled in your details, someone hacks into the government's.
Well, we all know.
We've heard recently there's been some famous isolation. I don't want to mention some names. There's been some famous isolation apps that have come out that people have been using that have been hacked.
Well, let's put it this way.
I think we might be one of them.
There's apps like Zoom, House Party, all these social apps.
Let's no say no names. Let's no names.
They've all been hacked by someone at some point, and we know Russia and China are consistently hacking the UK and American government, and we know the American government and the UK government are consistently hacking China and Russia.
There's no confirmed details. Let's make it clear. No confirmed details.
But yeah, we all know that happens.
Can I get Raheem to clarify? What do you mean there's been no confirmed details?
I mean, there have been suspicion. There have been cases that they said it have happened, but there's no concrete evidence that's out there that they actually been hacked.
Who made the speculations?
Me. for Zoom and house partying. I know
Stop saying the names. Stop saying the names.
I'll say the names all day long.
No, don't say the names. I need this to be it.
Yeah. I mean, even certain news outlets will or can make certain speculations. So it's not just one individual.
Let's put it this way: Sony has been hacked in the past. TalkTalk has been hacked in the past. They pull all your personal data. That's the only reason.
Actually, let's not go too far. We know the NHS has been hacked. Do you remember that whole time?
Yeah.
It was all over the news. NHS got hacked hugely. You know, people's data's, and that's it. And that was a fair thing, man. People's names, data's, health conditions, everything went out.
Like, that could have been a government from somewhere around the world, or it could be some nerd sitting in his basement just hacking shit because it's fun.
Or he's bored.
Hackers are everywhere nowadays because it's basic.
So you'd be fine then. Yeah, I'm actually saying that about hackers because you're saying you give your information to a company but not to a government, but yet that company.
But my issue with hacking isn't personal details.
Right.
Hacking could actually go devastating in a different way. So Joe Bloggs hasn't got coronavirus, but someone hacks onto the system and makes it so it sounds like he has. Then that's going to send a malicious signal out to everybody who's been in contact with Joe Bloggs to say that he's got coronavirus. So then now you've got thousands of people rushing towards the NHS saying, I've got the coronavirus, I need to be tested. And there's plenty of other people out there that have that objective to, even it's people that don't like the NHS, if it's another country that wants to fuck over the NHS. There's always somebody that wants to do damage. And that's just one simple way of dealing damage, is saying that some person has it, so then the app sends out the signals to everybody to get them to go into isolation or to go to the hospital or send them into panic, etc., etc., etc. And that's just one simple example of a hacking technique that could work.
I'm going to conclude this for people. I'm going to go through Raheem. So Raheem, let's ask the question again after listening to everyone, Lee or whatever. Would you give your information to the government to let the app for the track and tracing app to help save the world?
In a life-threatening situation, yes, I would give it to them, but I prefer not to. I prefer to give it to a third party to just track my location for a certain period of time. So if I'm gonna give it to them, I want it to be a condition that you could track me until, let's say, you find a cure for the coronavirus, right? Then I understand that. Or you could track me until this pandemic is over, completely gone. So is a sticky one for me, but I wouldn't want them to have full access to it forever. That's the main thing I'm saying.
Yeah. Go on, Lee.
I'm going to be keeping an eye on basically what happens with this app and exactly who it's going to be run by. But at this point, I will not be downloading the app.
True.
And stuff otherwise.
Listening to you both, I've come to the agreement of really of saying that actually, well, I don't know. Actually, I generally don't know, because the human instinct inside says, give your information, we can cure this thing quicker, easier, faster, and get back to the world and help the world governments and help people who are not putting food on their table at the moment, you know, feeding their kids and that because they're not at work. And the quicker we get rid of this, the quicker life can go back to normal. Yeah, and that was going to be my next thing. Normal to what? I don't want to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole too much. I really don't, because I'm a factual person rather than a conspiracy theorist. But I truly also believe that God has everything come at the right time. You know, we're at the end of an old decade. We're moving into a new decade, and new decade needed to move things really fast, you know, into a new society. Like I said, with, you know, I don't want to go into this conversation for another day with this Elon Musk, with all the technology and stuff like that. And how would we have got away from everything? How would we have got away from the old and moved into the new?
Yeah.
If we weren't all sitting at home, if we weren't all abiding by rules, if we weren't all being told to be track and trace. I think I know. I think you guys get where I'm coming with from that.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing to say is cancer have been around for a long time, and how far I've been with that. So that's the same thing. And cancer is just not, they said that the coronavirus is a super virus. So if we can't even solve the actual proper cure for cancer, how are we supposed to get a cure within a year of lockdown?
Actually, I'm going to say another big thing here, and Raheem, I think you're going to agree with me this here, because I want this to be in two parts quickly. I know time's going on. This was about track and tracing. Why was track and tracing not used for HIV? And HIV was huge in America, man.
Yeah. Probably technology wasn't fully available or developed at the time, so they couldn't really push it that heavily.
You think, how old is the smartphone? The smartphone hasn't been around that long.
Yeah.
In comparison to HIV.
No, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I know, I get what you mean, but HIV is still around. There's no cure for it.
Yeah. So this is essentially, coronavirus is going to be like that, unless the government is willing to spend billions of dollars to come up with a cure for it. And already the NHS is underfunding even in Europe. So unless they prioritize giving more funding to the NHS to solve most of these super virus, so to speak, then we're going to be around for a couple more years. Billions of years, I should say.
Right, any last things to add, people?
No, I think I said everything I wanted to say, to be honest.
I said everything I needed to say.
You sure? You want to give us some inside information from their...
I don't got no inside information.
Cheers, guys. Make your own decision, and people, please leave your comments below and let us know. Do you think, you know, would you give your details for the track and trace? Let us all know, guys. Until next week, and we've got a cracker one next week, so tune in. We've got a really good Q&A with everyone. Right, take care, people. Have a good evening. Stay safe. Stay at home. Can everyone wave bye?